After explosions rocked a Russian air base in Crimea this week, Ukrainian government officials put out a stern warning that these blasts were just the beginning. Ukraine, in fact, is now vowing to liberate the entire Crimean territory which Moscow had annexed back in 2014. Now, it was not immediately clear who was responsible for these blasts. It happened on the west coast of the Crimean Peninsula. It's an area full of beach resorts, very popular with Russian tourists. An aide to the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, distanced Kiev from the attack. In fact, even the Americans are not able to confirm if Ukraine actually carried out this attack. In fact, a US official speaking to AP on the condition of anonymity said that it appeared that Ukrainian forces had carried out this strike using a weapon that was not provided by the United States, but he could not confirm if indeed Ukraine had carried it out. Also, the attack, if it was conducted by Ukraine, would amount to a dramatic escalation in this 6-month-old war. It would demonstrate a remarkable ability by the Ukrainian forces to strike at Russian territory far away from the front lines. Also, this was a strike deep inside territory where Russian tourists are so comfortable that they were lounging near the base, close to sandy beaches just along the Black Sea. Most importantly, the Crimean question was well settled after Moscow annexed it in 2014. Even after the start of this war between Russia and Ukraine, it's going to be 6 months of this war, though there was fighting across all of Ukraine, in the capital, in the Donbass, but Crimea was always left uncontested. That is, up until now. On Crux Decode, what does the attack on Crimea mean for this 6-month war between Russia and Ukraine? Would this mark a serious escalation in this conflict? Now, if you look at numerous social media posts right after these blasts, you could see thick plumes of grey smoke that were rising over this base. Witnesses, in fact, said that they heard at least a dozen explosions. In fact, Reuters, a news agency, had reported that around 3:30, very close to Novofedorivka in Crimea, that's where these blasts happened. Moscow used this Black Sea territory, it borders the Kherson region of Ukraine, to launch forces into Ukraine back in February. In the aftermath of these blasts, though Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for this attack, some remarks by top officials appear to skirt that line somewhat. Today, there is a lot of attention on the topic of Crimea, and rightly so. That's what Zelensky said in his nightly address. He went on to say that Crimea is Ukrainian territory and we will never give it up. Now, this was something that the Ukrainian president has not said since the start of the war. It's also an indication to Moscow that if Ukraine so chooses, then it can widen this war away from just the Donbass to other parts as well. Ukraine is not averse to attacking Crimea, which was seemingly a settled question, certainly after 2014. Also, in various statements posted on social media, apparently to try and needle Moscow, Ukraine's defense ministry also went on to say that it cannot establish the cause of the fire, but it reminded the Russian side, rather cryptically and mockingly some would say, that there are dangers in smoking in unspecified places. In another post, the Ukrainians in fact tried to troll the Russians further by saying that the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine would like to remind everybody that the presence of occupying troops on the territory of Ukrainian Crimea is not compatible with the high tourist season. In a way, sending out a message to those flocks of Russian tourists who were reaching out to Crimea for sunbathing. The Crimean Peninsula should be the pearl of the Black Sea, a national park with unique nature, not a military base for terrorists. This was according to Mikhail Podyolak, who's a Ukrainian presidential advisor. He posted this on Twitter. He also went on to say that this was just the beginning, appearing as a reference to Tuesday's blasts. In fact, in an interview, an independent Russian online broadcaster, without claiming responsibility, actually said that anti-Russia partisans may have carried out the attack. The explosions in Novofedorivka are another reminder that Crimea is going to be contested. That is what the Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk wrote on social media. Satellite images appear to show major damage and a number of destroyed Russian warplanes at this airbase following the explosions. The Saki base, which is in the western part of Russian-ruled Crimea, it was rocked by the string of blasts that happened this week. One person was officially killed, but the unofficial toll could be much higher. The runways at the base, they appear to be intact, but at least 8 aircraft seem partially damaged or completely damaged because several craters were visible through these satellite images. So far, like I said, Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for the attack, but there seems to be new evidence which suggests the possibility of a targeted attack. It also dispels Russia's denial that any of its aircraft were damaged in this attack. In fact, if you look at these images from the US-based Planet Labs, it shows large areas of scorched earth left behind from the fires that erupted. Most of the damaged or destroyed aircraft are in specific hangars in the base, where there are, of course, a large number of planes that were parked out in the open. This is away from the cover of hangars. In a statement, the Russian Defense Ministry said that munitions had been detonated at a storage site at the Saki airfield, and that these explosions were not the result of weapons that had been aimed at the depot. Crimea's health ministry said that 1 person was killed and 9 people, including 2 children, were injured in these blasts. In fact, in a post on Telegram, Askinov said that the situation was localized and under control. He's a senior Russian Defense Ministry official, and that there was no general evacuation orders given to the region. About 30 people had to be evacuated from houses very close to the airbase, as well as nearby boarding houses and hotels. A high yellow level of terrorist threat alert was in place between the 9th of August. It'll run all the way up to the 24th of August in some areas, including urban districts as well as government facilities. Any attack by Ukraine inside Crimea would be seen as an escalation of this war. In fact, Russia sounded a warning last month when ex-President Dmitry Medvedev threatened that Judgment Day will instantly await Ukraine if it were to target Crimea. Now, Crimea is internationally recognized as part of Ukraine, but the peninsula was annexed by Russia in 2014. Many Ukrainians, in fact, see this as the start of their war with Russia. After the annexation in 2014, there was a constitutional referendum that Russia carried out there, and in that referendum, a majority of Crimeans voted to stay with Russia and leave Ukraine. And ever since, in the last 5 or 6 years, there has been a self-governed sort of provincial arrangement there in Crimea, which owes its allegiance to Moscow. But like I said, it is a very, very popular tourist destination, one of the few warm water beaches, as it were, close to the Russian mainland, which Russian tourists flock to in the thousands every time there is summer. This time, after these explosions at the Saki Air Base, question marks are also being raised on whether this was meant to deter Russian tourists from flocking to Crimea.